4 million people are giving Dry January a go this year, but tomorrow at precisely 8 minutes past 8, a third of them will apparently fall off the wagon and have a drink.
Wow. 8 minutes past 8?
8 minutes past 8. Set your watch. But with a study last year finding that any amount of alcohol is bad for you, why do so many of us find it hard to contemplate life without it? Joining us for this discussion, one woman who knows all too well how easy it is to become dependent on alcohol. Please welcome author Catherine Gray. Welcome, Catherine. Lovely to have you here. Now, this book here, The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober, which has become a bestseller, hasn't it, is that lady's Bible. She was on TV over Christmas. Oh, you've got to read it, you've got to read it. You've really taken to this, haven't you?
Well, I have. I mean, as everybody knows, Mark, my husband's been in recovery for 15 years now. He hasn't been drinking, and we've done all the AA stuff and everything. At Christmas, I unexpectedly got very, very drunk, like I would have done as a teenager, and it was really, really serious. I fell all the way to the bottom of the stairs and didn't really know I'd fallen to the bottom of the stairs until Mark was at the bottom of the stairs, at which point I was going... So I had quite a big shock. I just thought, wow, I'd had a really nice night, and then somehow I got to this point. So all my life I've drank a lot, and I love drinking. But since my children, I've been really much more sensible. I would call myself a moderate drinker who enjoys a drink. But anyway, so after this was quite a shock for me. Anyway, so I was thinking, I'm going to do Dry January. I'm going to do Dry January just to see what's going on with me. Anyway, so I was looking around online and I saw somebody talking on Instagram about your book, bought your book, and I loved it. It was just so refreshing and made me think about so many things and about my relationship with alcohol and many of the people that I know with alcohol. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do a month. I'm going to do 100 days because... And it's been so interesting because I've realised in the last 25 years, I've never gone out to dinner without having a drink. I've never gone to a wedding without having a drink. Not loads, but I always have a drink. And I like the way that your book comes at us saying, why do we associate all joyful things with having a drink? I mean, I played Monopoly the other day without a drink, and I've done that for 50 years, you know, and I really enjoyed it. I would have thought, I can't play Monopoly without a glass of wine.
How can you play Monopoly drunk? How are you ever going to buy the properties that you want to get onto the ladder and beat all of your children?
Well, guess what? I won.
But, I mean, Catherine, you know, the story around what led you to write this book is certainly no laughing matter. I mean, you know, alcohol started to take over your life, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. As I was approaching 30, I noticed that my drinking was accelerating while my friends' drinking was slowing down. So I started this mission to moderate, and I tried everything I could find, drinking out of smaller glasses, switching from wine to cider, going to the gym before the pub, and nothing worked. It just kept escalating. And then I went through a really bad breakup and I started drinking at home alone to sort of drown my sorrow. And it just didn't work. And it got to the point where I was really physically addicted to it.
And was that impacting on other areas of your life? I imagine it was. Work, relationships, etc.
Yeah, everything. I mean...
To what extent?
So my work had always gone up, up, up. I'd always gotten away with it. I'd always been a bit of a nightmare at the Christmas party and I'd done something stupid, but I'd always got promoted anyway, and my work started going down, and everyone was just fed up with me. Most of my best friends had one foot out the door. They just didn't want to deal with it anymore. So,
and you were actually quite ill, weren't you? You weren't eating, you were spending your last pennies on alcohol. Still what they would call a high-functioning alcoholic, in that you were still working and stuff.
Because I was still going to work and doing things like interviewing Emma Bunton and Lulu as my job. So I was holding it together. Nobody really knew apart from my parents and my best friend. And actually, when I quit, everyone was like, you are not that bad. You should continue.
No, no,
I shouldn't.
A lot of what made me really think in the book is that, and Stacey and I have talked about this thing that if you're not drinking at an occasion, you have to apologise. Oh, I'm not doing this drug today, so I'm really, really sorry.
Well, you don't drink hardly, do you?
It is funny because I will say, like, when I first said to the girls, I don't drink, I don't like the taste of alcohol, and everyone's like, oh, God, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't really like it. Like, I've spent my life pretending to drink alcohol because I'm embarrassed that people do think you're a bit boring,
Yeah.
or you're not on their level, or you know they don't want to tell you things. They don't want to. They think you're like the geeky,
Riot.
yeah, the one who's
Yeah.
going to ruin their night, basically. So I'm like, woohoo, pretending to get drunk while everyone's actually throwing up.
Lemonade and champagne.
We shouldn't have to apologise for
Well,
not
yeah.
wanting to
I mean,
drink.
it's sad, a reflection on our culture, isn't it? That, you know, the assumption is you should be drinking because drink is associated with good times, etc., etc. But, I mean, do we have to have these extremes? I mean, clearly it was impacting on your life to the point that your career and your relationships were suffering and you had to do something about it. You don't drink at all. But, I mean, there'll be a lot of people who just like a drink now and then. I mean, Rebecca, you like a drink.
Yeah, I think it's like all things that are bad for you, it's the relationship we have with it. So if you like some things occasionally and you're living a healthy life, then it's fine. It's when it starts impacting your health, the way you're living, then it's a problem. And again, like you say in the book, it's your association. If you can only have a good time with a drink, then you've got a problem. Yeah.
Did you work out why you were drinking to that level?
I think a lot of it was social anxiety, and I didn't actually realise that until I quit. So I always had a drink before I went to a party, and I'd never been to a party without having a drink. And so I had to work through that because I started drinking young, 12, 13. And so I got used to going out and having a drink to give me confidence. And
So even at that age, it was, I mean, it was to give you confidence.
yeah.
Oh, Mark
absolutely.
talks about that. My husband, he says, you know, right from a young age, whether he said, I think that you can know straight away if you're going to be an alcoholic. Just that feeling of like, this is it. I found something that's going to make everything okay. It just settles me. you know.
Yeah.
Would
yeah,
you
I
agree
think
with
that's-
that?
Yeah, I think that's true. I found it and I was like, this is what's going to enable me to go out and dance and talk to boys that I like. And I latched onto it really quickly.
I love how you talk in the book about how you dance because I worry about going out and not having a drink and not dancing because it does, even though I'm a really, you know, out there person, I still like that drink to get on the dance floor. And I think in the book you really make me believe all these things are just as joyful without a drink. I'll probably go back to it in 100 days. But I think that and you actually made a really conscious decision on doing that, didn't you? You gave yourself a time span, didn't go out initially. Because I think a lot of people be watching this and saying, but how do we do that? How do
Yeah.
we dance on the tables without being drunk?
Yeah.
How do we?
I don't dance on tables anymore.
Oh, sorry, that's just me.
No, not right now. But I think it's just learning how to do it because if you start drinking when you're a teenager, you don't learn how to go to a gig
Yes.
and dance when you're not drunk
Yes.
or had at least a drink.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to do it just like you have to learn how to drive or learn a language, and then it becomes second nature.
So it's not just-
As you know, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't like the taste and I don't like being out of control. So I would dance on the table and just pretend I was drunk and I'll be like, oh, that alcohol. It's done it again to me. But I'm fully aware of what I'm doing.
Because I'm not drunk now, but I could get now and dance on the table. So why do I think it's
Right, calm down, girls, calm down.
Because I'm in a social situation, I'm going to have a drink. You know, it's a mindset.
But what
Did
we
you
want to
lose
hear
friends?
more of, Stacey, is you saying, I'm having a fantastic time, I'm dancing on the tables, and I have not had any alcohol.
Yeah.
We need to get that out there. We need to stop you having to pretend that you've had alcohol, because that is the problem, that association, you know.
Yeah.
And with teenage kids, I feel really passionate about it. We have to break that cycle that you described.